Here is a look at your gap and go trades for the week of the 17th through the 21st. I will go over price targets on the 5-minute time frame, have a gap recap from February 10th through the 14th, and update the chart as well. Hi everyone, it's Dow on the Dow. First up is Sofi. We ended the day at $16.21, up 6.71%. This ticker is finally rebounding. This is where we are. To the north side takes us to 2 standard deviations and 1 level of resistance and a potential take profit area at 1657. The next standard deviation, roughly 1691, and don't hold your breath for price to get to this level on Tuesday, possibly later on, but I don't think on Tuesday, and that would take us to 1726. Now to the south side, takes us back to the middle of the trend and the baseline, and that is roughly 1588. 1519, another level of support and a potential buy-in area, also a potential stop-loss area. 1484 and 1449. Ignore this pink line. I owned this at 1459 and I sold out. But I do own other shares in the hot pink to the south side. And then the yellow lines are previous middle of the trend lines that have turned into either support or resistance. Now this is getting too close for me and I don't like to track that many lines. So I'm curious, where did I mark those out? Okay, that was the week of December 9th. And then before that, let's see, November, the week of November, let me do this, 25th. So I'm going to delete, we'll just take out this old one, not the oldest line. If that makes any sense. It does to me. Okay. So I just deleted, I could just get rid of that one too, but I'm going to leave that for now. And clean up the gaps. There's a gap that will take us to 1785. That is still in play, and I will move that. Hold on, there we go. There's that middle part to the end of the week. But if you follow this line, 2 standard deviations, and if we continue to go up, of course it'll whip us around all over the place, but we could, in theory, get to roughly 1806, maybe 1839, and don't hold your breath, 1874. And the end of the week, the outer band could take us to 1598, possibly. Now, I bought down here, sold up here previously for an 18% return, but I also own, as I mentioned, Sofi at 1410 and a bunch of other price points, which I will clean up later and show it to you. So this gap closed already. This one needs to be, I've already extended that out. Let me change this to a different color so it, there we go. And that line is my sell line. This is the gap line there. That makes it look a little bit cleaner. So as far as the other gaps go, I marked this out the beginning of the week on January 31st, and it closed out. Wait a minute, is that right? January 31st, okay, and then February 3rd it closed. So I need to clean that up. It touched right about there. So that's done. And this one that I extended out, that I had been tracking for quite some time. So that was on the 15th of January. It opened up, and I have been lackadaisical. Well, it closed on Wednesday the 12th. Not too lackadaisical, I guess. So that took us down to 1450. This was an expected move of mine, and it hit. So we were here, and then we bounced up to resistance and fell back down again. See, we've touched this point a couple of times. I could have sold because I did it back here. All right, and now the next gap to the south side that I will be tracking takes us down here to 1408. Ignore that line. You know, here, I'm going to change this red. That way you can see that. These are my buy lines. Ignore the other lines. The white line is the previous target, analyst target that we've already met. So 12.99 is also in play. I'll change this. And while I'm here, might as well. Oh, I don't want to delete that. I just want to change the color. But we are moving farther away from those gaps. Then they are not in the channel. Oops, not in the zone. Oops, there we go. Not even close to the south side, but something to be aware of. And did I clean everything else up? I think so. Just looking for price labels. Yeah. So the next gap to the upside will be 1785. And, whoops, that, oh, I don't know. Yeah, towards the end of the week, we could touch it. Not the beginning of the week, I don't think. All right, the next one I want to go over. Oh, the 1 year price target is what? The 1 year price target is now $20. I think it's been $20 for a while. Yeah, I've already got that marked out. Hasn't changed. Next ticker, let's move it along here. Rivn. We finally turned around with Rivn as well. So we are at 1403. All I'm looking for this week is from this period to this period. Monday, well, Tuesday because of President's Day, the market is closed, and then to the end of the week. So where could price possibly take us? We are in an upward channel. Nice to see. I like to see longs versus shorts. 1443, 1467. Don't hold your breath for Tuesday, but later on in the week, sure. 1492. The middle of the trend, look at that, takes us back to a spot, oops, we've been to before. I've got my magnet on so it gets wonky. I'll delete this upper band in a moment. To the south side, support and a potential buy-in area and a potential stop loss. 1316, 1349 rather, 1324, and 1301. Taking a look left, the previous week. What is going on? So we have a gap. We gapped up, so I will anticipate this to fill to the downside because there is always a downside. That won't come as a surprise, but right now we are, again, still going up. This is still in play, carrying over to this week. I will just extend it all the way to the end of the week. I have no idea when it's going to touch. Let's mark that out. And that closed. What happened here? This gap closed. We opened up and closed. Right, that's closed. All right, everything looks clean except for what's happening here. So we've got a gap that will take us to roughly 1420. And that gap opened up on Tuesday, January, excuse me, 21. On the day after Inauguration Day. And do I have everything else cleaned up? Oh, we've got a gap up there and another one up here, but that is not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close. Just something to be aware of, and I don't think I'm tracking anything else, so that is good. That is good news. I don't want to see anything where it will haunt us to the south side. I like to rip off the Band-Aid and just close out those nasty gaps. The 1-year price target is 1476. So 1476 is right here. I will mark this out. I will do it right. Turn that into a white line because that's where I keep everything color coded so I know exactly what everything is for the most part. 1476 is the 1-year price target. And when could we hit it? I don't think we're going to hit it on Monday, but if we do, you can bet a sell-off will happen. People will take their profits and they will run. They will lock in and they will leave you. Okay, so that's that line. But if we follow this middle line, which is where the average price will be, so we can just follow that, and that could hit on Wednesday if we do a slow grind up. Fingers crossed. All right, the next one is NEO. I've tracked this a gazillion times. First, your price targets. Remember, ignore all the other lines. 450, 456, and now 460, retracing to a level we've already been. We gave it up, and now we're climbing and clawing our way back. The middle of the trend will take us to this line, and that will be in purple. And then that's an old middle of the trend line that's now going to be support. So if we hit that, I will anticipate a bounce off of it and this line as well. But -2 standard deviations is 431, 426, and 421. Since I'm going through so many tickers, I don't have time right now, but flip this over to the daily and the weekly, and then you will see where all these price points line up in the big picture. This gap is still in play, taking us down to 426. What happened with this gap that developed on Tuesday, February? We gapped down, so I'll anticipate a gap up, and we touched it right there on Friday the 14th, on Valentine's Day. That was a nice little treat. So that's done. This gap to the south side is still going to haunt us, taking us down to 395. Oh, and then another bleeder down here. Not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close. And then this gap that I marked out on the 8th of January, we touched, oh, let me move this. I note price for myself. So we touched right here on February the 14th as well. So that gap is no longer in play, taking us to 451. And look at that. Like I said, when you see wicks all the way taking us out of the bands, there will be a sell-off. You can always expect price to stay within -2 and 2 standard deviations, but keep an eye on that calculation because TradingView recalculates things depending upon which time frame that you play, either 1 minute, 3, 5, daily, whatever it may be. And this got wonky on me, so let me just delete that. Oh, wait. What did I do? Oh, yeah, I lost it because I accidentally deleted it. Okay, so there. Like that. I just don't write price labels in the hanging out with no box that goes with it. So that's done. And let me change this to a different color. There. So that started at 439. All right, what happened with this gap? This opened up on Thursday, February the 6th, and it also touched on February 14th. Nice. We had a lot of gap closures on the 14th, it looks like. So that's done. So we gapped down, and then it filled all the way to the upside. And then what about, oh yeah, this one is done also. Let me just move that to this color. So we had 1, 2, and 3 gaps close. Cleaning up the chart here. If you draw out your gaps, you're going to see where we could head. So that could take us up to 469. Oops, just did something again. Right here. Let me mark this out. And the bottom starts at 464. That is still in play. And where did it? Oh, that's it right here. So we could get there if we just play this middle line conservatively. That could close out on Thursday if we continue to go up. But you know what? What goes up must come down, and you know it will come down. So this thing will continue to whip us around because NEO has done that for years now. Years and years and years. All right. So that is done. 451. Delete. Delete. And this will take us to 464. I'll delete that one. And then up here, not in the channel, not in the zone. All right. But see that all we've done is just retrace from here, kind of consolidating, going sideways, and then going up again. So just a sloppy looking U-shape. A U-shape recovery, seems like. And just for giggles, I'll mark that out. I'll mark that out. That will take us to 560. That's a long ways off. The 1 year price target is what? 585. Here, just for fun, I'll show you what this looks like on the, don't be shocked, here we go, on the monthly. Option R, look at how many times. Oh, that's a little note I wrote to myself. Look at that, nasty. All the weeks I've been tracking this on the monthly. The weekly. I don't know why is there, I must have deleted this line because I did a thumbnail, perhaps that's why it gets off. That's a Tuesday. I'm going to delete that one. You can just tell if you mark this out intuitively, it should be nicely evenly spaced out. Like this one is not. That's Friday. Yeah, I guess that one looks all right. So here we are on the daily. Option R to reset. So we're at 444 right here. And look at all the areas that we have to go to retrace. 2 standard deviations takes us back to 590. All right, enough of that. Tsly. Option R, back on the 5. So we're at 1201. Middle of the trend will take us to 1207. If we go sideways before making another leg up, this could act as, from right here, resistance. But if we go past it, that on the way down turns into support. 1233, 1247, to a place we've been to before, 1260. 1181, 1167, and 1154. Looking left. Clear sell signal, clear sell signal, clear buy, and another buy area. And then if you're playing sort of conservatively, on the way up, this is resistance, and you can hop off the gravy train here as well. All right, we've got a gap that closed right there, taking us to 1186. Delete. This gap taking us down to 1120. When did it start? When did I mark it out? So I marked that out. Ooh, look at this. Oh my goodness. On Wednesday, October 23 of 2024. No longer in play, taking us down to 1121. Thank goodness. See how this came back to haunt us from last year? I mean, I prefer just to slam us down, get rid of all the gaps, and then we can organically go up again. So that's done. I put that as 1120. It was actually 21. I didn't go far back enough to be precise. And then we've got this one. This gap that took us down to 1167 opened up when? 1167 opened up on Tuesday, November 5th of 2024. This is no longer a threat to our account to the south side. We finally did it and closed it out. So that right here touched on February 11th. Oops. Just to undo anything, Command Z. All right, that was done. And what about this gap? There are a gazillion gaps. Why is this? Oh, that's at 12. This is, oh, I know what I did. All right, so it was there. So we touched down at 12:01 on Friday the 7th. I know it's hard to see, but, or was that on Monday? That was Monday. So that took us down to 12:01, delete, delete, and that gap at 12:01 opened up on, good Lord, November 6th. We have a lot. Tsly and Tesla are so gappy, especially Tsly, I think. So I like to play gaps, so that provides an opportunity. So that's done. And what is that one? 1167, this gap closure, that's done. We touched already. And this one at 11:19 is done. So delete that. Oops, deleted the wrong thing. I meant to delete the price label. See how if you go back and clean up your chart and if you micromanage it, you can just see opportunities everywhere. So this one, oh, wait a minute. Oh yeah, so this gap started at 13:05 and then 13:05 right here. See that? 13:05 touched right there on Monday the 10th. So that's done. 13:05, that gap started on Wednesday, November 6th. So that's done. Right. And this one is the wrong color. I just know by looking at it. So we gap down, so that's going to fill up. And that will take us to 13:06-ish. We could touch it at the end of the week if we hit these outer bands. And this one taking us to 13:36, and then we have another one taking us to 14:17, and I do have shares at 12.92 and 12.57 and 11.42. So I will be setting some sell orders possibly this week. No, I'm down. Oh, okay, so I'm down on these, but I'm up on these lots. Okay, good to know. That is a look at Tsly, and I think, oh, that's it. Yeah. There we are. So all I'm doing is looking at this period to this period. So I'm upside down on some shares because we got slammed to the downside. All right, Nike is the next one. Option R to reset. So here are your targets. The middle of the trend will take us, and that will be resistance at 73.56, 74.21, 74.55, 74.86 to the south side, 72.90, 72.60, 72.26. The 1-year price target is 84.50. So we have a gap. Okay, this needs to be cleaned up. So what happened the week of the 10th? So we had a gap that I extended out, but again, I don't know when it will close, and it did right there, so that is done. That closed on the 11th, opened up on Friday the 7th. That took our account to 71.64. Note resistance, and then the sell-off to support, and then the bounce. So that's done. What is this? Oh, I did a price. That was where price was when I did a video. All right. Support and a bounce. This gap closed. Sell off, a buy signal, buy signal. Those are clear buy signals. Obviously, many signals, buy and sell signals in between. But those are just the obvious ones using the standard deviation. So this one, what happened here? Touched. Right here when this gap formed, there's a gap right there, and that already closed. I'm not going to bother. So we gapped down, and then we filled it to the upside at roughly 76.80. And then look at that. Bleed out. We went higher up and then made our way back down. And what happened here? We gapped up, so then that should be red. That is the wrong color. All right, what's this one? We gapped down, filled. Oh no, I have to clean that one up. Got sloppy on that one. I forgot to go back and clean it up. We touched right there. And all right, I think that is it. So we have a gap taking us all the way back to 81.40. Not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close. Then we've got one that will take us to 79.03. We fell from grace, and now we're just clawing our way back. There, I just put on the RSI. So 72.25 and 74.81 for the outer bands. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Boeing. Right, we're inching up on the middle of the trend line. That's at 186.83. This is resistance, another level of resistance. Resistance, take profit area, potential, 189.59, 191.23, 192.96, 182.90, 181.21, 179.52. Looking left, what happened? Well, this tiny little gap actually closed right here. That took us up to 180.44. Support, a bounce, support, a bounce. This gap, we gapped up and then it closed to the downside, just a tiny one, see? Yeah. Resistance, resistance, resistance. Support, support. So that got all cleaned up, I believe. Oops. Command Z. Undo whatever you don't want to do that you just did, that you want to undo. All right, that will take us up to roughly 198.44-ish. And that will take us down to the 157 range. This will take us down to the 149 range. And I think I've cleaned up pretty much everything I need to. Okay, so the next gap will be, well, nothing. Well, okay, the outer bands could take us to 190, 169-ish, and then we could touch on Friday if we go to this outer band. The 1-year price target is now 197. So here's 196. 197 will take us to here. But you know what? We had a gap previously, and of course that's going to get closed eventually. Estee Lauder, this one's whipped us around as well. First, your price targets. Oops, I don't mean to do that. Move this. Right about there. Retracing to an area we've already been, and then we lost it. 70.55, 71.31, 72-ish to the south side. Support, 67.67, another level of support there. 66.94, 66.23. So this line, oops. Oopsie daisy. That's not what I want. What did I just do? Oh well. Let's just remark that. Let me just manually reset this. So this is the line at 69.24 that I want to go back and see. Where did I mark that out? That was the week of the 25th, November 25th. So I am going to delete that since it's so close to the line I already have. I don't need it. We're just retracing. So this gap takes us down to 65.15. This gap closed to the upside, looks like on Friday, so congrats. That took us up to 70.55, started at 70.17. Now then that has closed out. So the next gap I'm looking forward to the upside will take us to 77.14, but note the downward channel we are in. So this is one remaining gap. I just hope we get there so we can make our way back up again. I don't think I am tracking any other gap to the south side. But what is this? Yeah, see, look, we ran up and now we're back down again. Okay, and to the upside, those gaps, as I mentioned, I don't think I have anything else to clean up. And the next one is Unilever. This one's been tanking. Still going down on the 5. Here are your targets now. To the upside. Oops. Command Z. All right. 56.34, 57.17, and should we be so lucky, but don't hold your breath, for Tuesday, 57.98. I don't think so. Now the middle of the trend takes us to 54.68. If we get here, I'm going to expect to go sideways here or bounce off of that line somewhere. Then retracing to an area we've been, 53.04, 52.22, and 51.39. The 1-year price target is 62.76. There's They're shaking us out. Oh, look at this. We have a gap that I extended, but you know what? It already actually touched, and it touched right here on Thursday, the 13th of February. So that took us down to 56.05, and that is done. Now, what about this gap? This gap touched, let me go back. There's so many gaps. Let's deal with this one, this big one, this one right here. Okay, it started on Friday, the 17th. We gapped up, so I anticipated it to fill on the downside, and it did right here. So that took us down to 55.51, delete. So this gap opened up on the 21st of January. So let's find where this box is drawn. So that took us to this level right here on Thursday the 13th. Did I mark? No, this and this one I was off by a day. That touched right there on the 13th. And see, it's a gap within a gap, so then the lines don't line up correctly. That took us down to 55.92. 55.92. This one is done at 55.70. So we gapped up, so we fill on the way down for this line, and that is right here as well. So 56.05 started on Wednesday, January 22nd, and closed on Thursday, the 13th of February. Delete. And then we have this, we gapped up, so we fill it on the way down, and this one, just change the color. Well, because it's a gap within another lined gap, I'll do that so you can see it better. And that took us to right here as well on the January 24th. That's done, taking us out to 56.47. So, yep, that's done. That's great news that we closed out all these gaps. Look at that. We went up to go back down again to close out these wounds, these open wounds that have haunted us. And you know what that means. We should have exited to buy in again. And that's the hard part, letting go, selling. So that touched right there. That took us down to, on that gap, 56.51-ish. Oh, and we have this gap. Good Lord. This touched to the downside at 57.30, and that one opened up on roughly the 4th of February. Done. Oops, wrong thing. Delete the price label. Okay, and then we gapped up, and I anticipate that to fill to the downside. And where did it fill? It filled on this line on earnings, which was February 13th. Done. That took us down to 58.30. Yay, see all those gaps and then this bigger gap? Whew. All right, but better days are ahead. So the 1 year price target, 62.76. And I think that is it. I have some shares, I think, did I have it at 44.58? And then 53.70, I don't know, I have to look again. All right, but that is it, I believe, for the massive gaps. Yay, oh, thank goodness. And finally, oh my goodness, Intel, finally running, but we gave back some. All right, first year targets to the north side, taking us to a spot we've been to before. Oops, Command Z, I don't like that. Let's try this again. All right. And that's an old line we've been to that I drew out, oh gosh, so long ago. Let's forget that. I'm just going to delete that line. I don't need it. 2616, 2699, and back to an area we've been to before, but not for Tuesday, 2780. 2287, 2207, and then back to a space or spot we've been, 2124. And let's talk about the gaps. 2904 is the gap to the upside. That started, oh my gosh, on, oh, it won't even give me the date. It's so far back. I have to go to a different time frame. And I'm not going to. It's taking too long. This video is getting super long. So that will take us to roughly 50, I wish, 2902-ish. So this gap, we gapped up and it filled, oh no, did not fill yet. So that will take us down to 2256. And what about, oh, this was a gap. Oh no, that's where I sold previously, I think. Oops. I'll have to take this to a bigger time frame and show it to you later. But note the bounce here at support. This closed. So I think I've cleaned up pretty much everything to the downside. Okay. Yeah, 2904. All right, and that is it. The 1-year price target is now, all right, to the downside, 2203 and then $31. Please, fingers crossed we get to that line, because a long time ago I bought in at this line and it crashed. But I do have shares at, I think, 2021 left. So I've got to start buying in, and I did set some buy orders, and it never filled because I went too far down. But I got to keep my eyes on this one. And the CEO did buy shares weeks ago that was announced. So hopefully he saw the bottom, and now hopefully, fingers crossed, we continue to grind upward and on the 5 we are right now. And that does it for me. The next ticker I want to go over is GRNY. That's a Tom Lee ticker ETF that Trader Murat talked about that I forgot to do a chart on. And so that will be my next one. Have a great trading week.